The Dan challenge seems to just keep on changing, or rather, it's now kind of come full circle. I need to explain a bit. Since the Dan challenge started, the star chart has changed quite considerably, and we have also had the inclusion of 1999, which did push back even further access to arbitrations and Steel Path. But then, in a quiet little hotfix, DE then changed Steel Path's requirements, and considerably so. With the release of Temple, with the release of Temple's requirements of rank 4 of the Syndicate, as well as all of the main quests, DE then made a change, very simply, requiring you only have to complete all the nodes available before the new war. The new war, and by extension a Necromech and a Railjack, are neither required now to access both arbitrations and Steel Path. It's been reset right the way back to when Steel Path was actually introduced. So what does this mean for Dan? Well, to be quite honest with you, the original goal was to get to Steel Path and defeat the Murmur there on Steel Path. That was Dan's original vision, and doing so as Dante, hence being Dan. With all the changes, we can now still do that, and in fact cut out the 1999 section, as all of that is done by Drifter, and canonically to this series, Dan is the operator, not the Drifter. The Drifter is someone else called Dan, but it's not Dan. So with that all in mind, the way I'm going to go about this is, as much as possible, I'm going to complete Angels of the Zariman and Whispers in the Wall and all associated nodes without accessing arbitrations or Steel Path. Only once all of that is completed to meet the conditions at the start of this series, then, and only then, will I open up arbitrations and Steel Path. But this is a self-imposed restriction, a restriction that does not apply now, given the changes. But for Dan, the vision remains the same, the process remains the same, and that is exactly what I'm going to attend to. So we have now the quests of the Angels of the Zariman, and the quest of Whispers in the Walls, to unlock the necessary nodes to reach that final goal. This is Dan, a lone tenno with a quest to defeat the Murmur. I'm TheKengineer, let's go 0 to hero. The Zariman 10-0 emerges from the void, both tearing and plugging an enormous breach in real space. Dan is tasked to go within and find out what is causing the haunting chorus inside, only to discover yet more ghosts of his past. One tragedy remembered and another crisis averted, Dan sets his eyes squarely on the future. He answers Lloyd's call for aid with a dream, a harrowing dream that Dan has had many times too.
This was no dream, Tenno. It was a precept. The Kalimo sequence.
While for Lloyd it's a precept, for Dan it's a purpose. As surely as the sun rises and void corrupts, the monster of his vision takes form. Only this is not the real threat. This fragmented form is but a taste of the villain Dan will have to face in due time. At least for now, Dan has access to the labs. And this leads us to our next major acquisition, right through that corridor over there. This is what's going to give us access to Armatus Disruption. It is against a Murmur. It's level 55 to 60, one of the highest level missions we have yet to encounter, not counting the sortie. Judging by that there, we have the damage to at least take out the basic units. Do we have what we need to take out the demolishers? There is our conduit.
That's it. Protect the conduit and watch out for enemy necromechs. They'll blow the whole apparatus up just to keep you out.
Done. We do indeed have the requisite power. Dan is indeed in full control of this situation.
Legacy security protocols dictate that a necromech must now demolish.
Now we got the Void Rig to shoot.
Do not allow that to transpire.
Void Rig shot. So both Void Rig and Bone Window are vulnerable to our attacks. We're not even using the boosted damage types of Radiation and Electric, we're using Magnetic Heat. Now in order to get Dante, we do need to get to Rotation Sea of Disruption and then get Fortunate, although we can also acquire the pieces using these Vessel Capillaries we're picking up as well. But the main focus is trying to get those drops. With the way that Disruption works, rounds 1 and 2 are locked to a maximum rotation B rewards, if we do all conduits. Once we get to round 3, that's when we start having access to potential Dante drops. And our reward is an Axii Relic. That's unfortunate. Every Axii Relic we get here is not a Dante piece, but we are still making progress. We're up onto 34 Vessel Capillaries. If we end up having to purchase the parts with Capillaries, which for some of them is likely to be the case, 90 gets us any one of the parts blueprints, and 270 will get us the main blueprint. Boom. Dante Near Optics. We've got our head in the game here. Gruzling as well as Docket Spawn. Okay. More important is to deal with the Necromech. The Gruzling is a bonus. Especially as it's a level 117 Necromech. But Dan's still trooping. As these levels are beginning to climb, I'm going to take the opportunity to bank what has been earned, but we've managed to get quite a chunk here. And where was that exit? To say that is Dan's first ever mission, having come through into the labs, a 50-minute disruption, picking up 4,815 endo, multiple Axii Relics, Radiation Mod for our pistol, Energy Nexus, Expel Murmur for our pistol, and a Dante Near Optics blueprint. Oh, we are making progress. Ah yes, melee upgrade segment installed. I mean, that did get kind of snuck in there. We popped out of the previous disruption mission, only to receive a whole bunch of inbox messages that I guess are supposed to arrive the moment you complete the quest, but in typical Warframe fashion, they arrive one mission later. So we have received the Corvex blueprint, which we have currently no use for. We have received a melee upgrade segment, which allows us to now use melee arcane adapters, and also we have access to Tenokai now. And then Drusus asking for help via Dante's Laverian. Turns out Drusus was supposed to invite us over to Disruption, and then we do it. But in typical Eternalism, time travel shenanigans, we ended up doing the mission before receiving the message. That's fine. The main point now is that Anne simply needs to continue on with Armatus until we can get all of the required components to build Dante. So I'm currently using a magnetic heat setup, which is absolutely not a specialized setup for dealing with the Murmur and with the Necromechs. All of this is weak to electric and radiation, so an electric viral setup would be the way to go. Instead, I'm sticking with the heat magnetic so as not to have to make changes. What this shows is that I'm not even fighting at maximum power that I could here, and yet we can still just kind of roll over every single enemy. This is the level of power that Dan has grown to at this stage.
Excellent. That's all of them. Stand by for more conduits.
Standing by, our reward, Dante Systems. Okay, so that takes out another 90 of the capillaries. That's effectively 180 capillaries have been earned, and only another 360 required. Hello, Necromech. Alright, show me that Dante blueprint. Oh, okay then, well, yeah, that works. We have the capillaries, we have the blueprint. I asked for it and I got it. Looking at Dante then, we have the main blueprint, we have the Near Optics blueprint, we have the systems blueprint. We can purchase the chassis blueprint. However, that does not get us Dante. You see, we also still need to get a few more circuits. Not really a trouble. We do need to get Necrocoils and plenty of Entrati Obols, plus some Bellovoker. So let us purchase this piece right here, as we do not need to go back to the disruption now at any point. Instead, the focus now is on making sure I can get these materials. So I'm going to be hunting the map for these Voker. Problem is, I think this map might actually be a very, very large one, and lacking a certain Orican eye to help with the search, I am doing it manually, from my knowledge of the map. Let's see if I can find where all of this leads. Anything in here? Yes. Bellovoka, one of the 4 required, is now acquired. Yoink. That's 2 Bellovoka. If we get one from the bounty and can trade for one, that'll give us all 4 that we need. This has been surprisingly quick. Do we get ourselves indeed that lovely extra Bellovoka? We appear not to. We've gained it to 4,000 endo. I'll be quite honest, to miss out on a Bellovoka for 4,000 endo is a worthwhile trade for me. Eyeballs, however, 21,000 needed. 8,000 own. Not to mention the neck coils. Let's check with Lloyd here. This should be a very easy way to double check. So yes, we got all the materials needed now for the neuroptics, all the materials for the chassis. The only thing missing from the systems is a handful of circuits. If we go into our inventory here, and we have a look at the circuits, it tells us that the locations we can get this are Venus, Ceres, and Cuva Fortress. Plus resource drop chance as a survival. Let's do that one. 5-minute lock-in. Let's see if we can get those handful of circuits. It was only like 30 or so needed.
The infested are releasing toxic spores into the area.
You don't say. And we got some circuits. In fact, we got quite a bundle of them there. 43 circuits. That might just be enough already. Yes, it is. A survival mission was complete overkill. I had no idea they were going to drop in a whole bundle of 43 like that. We head down here now. We open up the foundry. We type in Dante. Chassis. Building. Neuroptics. Building. Let's go get an Entrati Lanthorn. Okay, so that's summoning a Necromex. I'm going to let it do that. Because no Entrati Lanthorn at the moment. I am guessing that it can give me one. Hi there, Noisy. And it gives me one. Excellent. Now let's see. Where was I? Ah yes, Dante Systems. Building. And we already have the Orokin cells to finish this off. So once those parts are completed, we can get Dante in the oven. Dan's namesake is right in front of us. Fresh from the grip of the Murmur.